Being diagnosed with cancer at any age is scary. But imagine being diagnosed with cervical cancer at 19 years old. And then being diagnosed with stomach cancer. And after that, being diagnosed with brain cancer. And then again, stomach cancer. And finally, being diagnosed with breast cancer. This is Marcia's story. Since the age of 19, she has been diagnosed with 5 different cancers and being told she has only had a few years to live on more than one occasion. How would you cope? How would you manage mentally and emotionally? Marcia is a tower of strength. Through her adversity, she has always remained focused and positive. And the thing is, that's not the end to her diagnosis of various illnesses. You're going to hear all about Marcia and her story in the next in the series of LEAN MindBody Stories. Hi Marcia.
Hi Ken.
Marcia, I really appreciate you taking the time out today to share your story with us.
Okay.
You know, in listening to some brief details about your story, I describe you as an overcomer. Yeah?
Overcomer, okay.
Someone who's been overcoming a series of illnesses from seemingly a young age. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Tell me, at what age was you when you first came across one of your first of the many diagnoses that's happened throughout your life?
I knew from 15 something weren't quite right, but it was when I was 19 and I got my first cancer scare. So they were quite descriptive. I was with my cousin at the time and they told me that I wouldn't make it to 29.
So you were 19 years old.
19.
Then you were diagnosed with cancer, and at 19 they told you you wouldn't make it till you were 21.
29.
Till 29?
Yeah. So they gave me 10 years.
10 years. How did that make you feel?
Determined to celebrate my 30th birthday.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
So what happened next after that diagnosis?
I had the operation. My cousin then had it wasn't a massive breakdown, but had a mini breakdown because that was her first time. We and her grew together, so we were more like sisters, more twins. So it was her first fault of me not being with her. So I remained strong kind of for her. The same time my family were moving back to Jamaica. So I saw the breakdown of my cousin and chose not to tell my mum and my brother and my dad.
Okay, so let's just take a step back because that surprised you. Firstly, what was you diagnosed with? What type of cancer was you diagnosed with?
It was a form of cervical cancer.
So you was diagnosed with cervical cancer at 19.
Yeah, at 19.
Okay. And you chose not to tell
anybody else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So was there a point you did tell your parents?
On my 3rd cancer, I told them.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying to me you went through cervical cancer and the treatment for that at 19 and you didn't tell your parents at all?
No.
Was that just down to your personality, or you just
didn't
want
my personality?
You didn't want to worry them?
I didn't want to worry them. They were leaving the country to move to Jamaica, and I knew it would stop them doing that. So I had every goal in my head to survive and be fine. And it wasn't I didn't have major chemotherapy. I had surgery and a little blast of a few weeks of chemo, and it was very hidden. So nobody could tell I was ill. It weren't until my 3rd cancer. I had stomach cancer after that. I chose not to tell anyone.
Yeah, we're going to come on to the 2nd cancer, but just regarding the 1st cancer. So who was there to support you during that 1st cancer scare?
My goals. like, because I said my cousin had her own mini breakdown, I'm the oldest of the family, I'm quite a mature part of the family, and I'm used to looking after people, so I looked after myself, and yeah, it was a good time, because even though I was going through my operations, I had a computer course that I was doing, and I rushed through my computer course, which then made me the youngest Microsoft engineer at the time. But I didn't know that. I was just rushing because I needed to get to Jamaica by December and just clear it all up. So from the September to December, I rushed through the course. Instead of it being a year, I took a few months, and yeah, got to relax on the beach after my operations and be in Jamaica and got well.
Yeah, it sounds quite mature for someone of 19.
I'd left home at 16, so I'd already had 3 years of living by myself and stuff, so I was used to my own company. I like my own company, so yeah.
So what do you think got you through that first cancer?
My goals, definitely. So I didn't really focus on negative. I'm really a positive person, and I've written my goals down since I've been a child. My mum kind of says since I could pick up a pen. So my goals were to, I think I was helping my uncle to get a truck in Jamaica, starting a business over there, buying property here, and like completing my courses and things like that. So I had bills to pay as well. So I had my own place and like hustling and working at the same time. And because of my health, I always kind of worked 3 or 4 days, and it was actually also better for tax purposes. Because your tax is basically the same. Well, it was financially for me. 4 days and 5 days was like a few pounds difference. So I was like, I get a whole day to myself. So yeah, my focus was on my goals, my list of goals.
So you didn't focus on the cancer, you focused on...
And focused on celebrating my 30th birthday.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And even though you were suffering from cervical cancer, I'm guessing you had to offer support to your friend who was distressed, your cousin, who was distressed by...
She was, yeah. So I just tried to keep it normal. Like, my first surgery didn't go well. I had to have a second, and I just like on the first one just told her it would be fine. It's fine now. Had the operation, everything's fine, and went through with my second operation by myself. And knew I internally knew that I would be fine, no matter what the doctor was saying. I kind of didn't take it on board. I didn't like think that I would ever pass away from this, and to be very honest, that's what's remained with me.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you received the all clear from your first...
I received it, the second operation, and a few weeks of chemo. I then received it all clear. Okay,
but as you've said earlier, your journey didn't end then. You then had a second diagnosis, and that was with, as you said, stomach cancer.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I'd always suffer from reflux like a baby. So if I eat too much, it comes up. If my stomach's too full, it's coming up. And those were the signs for me. After seeing a private doctor, he diagnosed early signs of stomach cancer, and that there were certain tumours and thankfully benign tumours. Had the operation for that and went about my way. Again, it was nothing you could visually see, so no one could tell, no one knew. And because I would travel a lot, because I was in IT now, nobody realised if I'm away for 5 days that I'm actually in hospital.
So you kept that to yourself as well and went through that treatment by yourself?
Yes.
Did your cousin who...
No, I didn't bother to tell my cousin again.
You just didn't want to burden her with the second cancer. Yeah. How long did treatment for the second cancer last?
That was around 6 to 8 weeks, because there was a few weeks of me weaning myself off their drugs, and my father's a Rastafarian, so there's a certain kind of lifestyle that we're used to having, and I'm not used to the idea of living on tablets for life. So I was like, okay, what does this medication do? Why do I need to take it? What does it balance? And I went straight to the herbalist.
Okay.
So every time it's been the pattern. I would hear what they've got to say, realise, okay, I need iron or vitamins, whatever, and go straight to the herbal.
So you're not a fan of pharmaceutical drugs?
Not at all.
So your preferred route was to understand what the drugs did for you and then seek alternative remedies to actually do what the drugs were supposed to do for you.
Yeah.
And
the first time all my family knew I was ill was when my lupus was in their minds, in their eyes, active, and I have cerebral lupus, and it's like a form of brain cancer. And your mind doesn't shut down, it doesn't let you sleep, and you basically go mad because it's like torture. But I then had to have 9 months of chemotherapy.
So this is the third cancer. Okay.
And that's where everybody could see something was wrong.
And how old were you at that stage?
30... I think I was 31.
So the first cancer at 19, the second cancer
at 25,
and the third cancer at
31.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm 41 now. This one, they gave me 10% chance of survival.
Okay, so they gave you a prognosis again that only 10%.
Yeah. At the stomach cancer, they gave me 5 years. So they said I was 22. They said I would make it to 27.
Okay.
I wouldn't make it to 27. I was like, child, I've been looking to celebrate my 30th birthday a long time, so I'm not listening to that. Yeah, they gave me 10% chance of survival. And I think maybe a year or two before, they also gave that to my aunt's hair. So I was like, no. I have every intention now to reach the goal of, I done my family tree. My great-grand lived to 108. And my goal was to honour her and live to 107. So
how was that third cancer treated?
Oh, that was hell. So because everybody knew now, so like my mum came in from Jamaica. I had a daughter at my first child. She was 6. My first child was 6. My partner, we was only maybe a year or 2 together because I'd broken up from my daughter's dad. And it was hell. So the family imploded. Like, you can see the effects. If somebody dies, the effects on the family is massive. If someone thinks the family member's about to die, the effects are basically the same. So there was a lot of breakdown in my family. Upset and hurt, make people do kind of horrible things to each other. My mum was planning my funeral kind of things because the doctors told her 10%, and I was just very determined. I had the medication that they would give me were horrific. At one point I was on 26 different medication throughout the day.
Wow.
And that was down to miscommunication, because I'd gone from one hospital, which was my local hospital, to my actual hospital where I'd receive my treatment, which is quite far. And what at the time, because my brain's not quite right, my speech was really slurred. The amount of drugs I was on from the first hospital, I was actually having allergic reactions to. My head swelled up. My eyes were spinning, I couldn't see properly out my left eye, but they say continue. So my mum, with absolute fear in her, because they've told her 10%, basically is opening my mouth for every hour you're meant to swallow these drugs. And then when we actually went to my own hospital, they gave her a set of drugs because they tested me, without understanding that I had a whole set from another hospital. So those 26 medications, I was like double dosing. So I will happily send you the pictures of what I look like. My head, I couldn't put my glasses on, my head was so big. I had ballooned, like just swelled, and it was definitely swelled because the way my eyes were slammed shut. And it was overnight, because I can remember I am quite a funny person, so I remember my cousin coming to see me, her looking a little shocked. I had no idea that I'd swollen up, by the way. Looking a little shocked when she's talking to me, for me to get up and walk past the mirror. I was like, who the hell is that? I looked like a what's it called now, a squirrel with all the nuts. Oh, it was like, nobody could tell me this is what I looked like. Like, it was ridiculous. And on praying, on understanding this isn't my path, I didn't listen. After the chemotherapy, I had 9 months of chemo. I had the doctor yet again tell me about staying on a certain amount of drugs for life. I was like, not interested. Weaned myself off the drugs. They'd also wanted to operate on my brain. I refused. They also wanted to inject certain things in my womb. I refused. And my mum jokes now, and because my mum says, oh, you're stubborn and you don't like to listen, and she's like, thank God that you're stubborn and you don't like to listen, because I listened to what they said, and that fear made me think, take all these things they're saying to take. And you were quite fearless. I'm like, no, 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 I've done my time, I've done my chemo, everything's gone, yeah, okay, cool, clear the system out now. Went straight to the herbalist, sat there, went for a detox, finished the chemo in October. By December I'd stopped all the 26 drugs. And in January I decided that I'm going to cleanse my body completely, and had a massive detox. It's not nice, but I knew my body needed it because I was heavy, and the weight from all the drugs was making me slow, and I was still visually, you could tell. And yeah, February I had decided that me and my partner, my body's detox. I know I'm ready to have a child now.
So with regards to the treatment, you're saying that it's the redirection from the pharmaceutical drugs to the herbs and the detox. Yeah. That's what helped you get
definitely
through that.
The particular herbalist, his name is Alan Williams.
Okay.
I've told him now, because I've gone back to him after that, he's saved my life 3 times.
Saved your life?
Most definitely. And it's simple things. It was like dandelion and chamomile and burdock and things like that. And my body was really sensitive, so I couldn't walk up. Like, by the time of, before the end of the chemo, I had gone blind in my left eye and was in a wheelchair.
And that's on the 3rd cancer?
Yeah. So the whole visual side was the first time anybody had seen me sick. And it was very, very visual. It wasn't hidden anymore. Okay. So you could see I was sick, I couldn't walk properly. By the time I'd finished my detox, I was walking, but I was still struggling a bit. And I'd promised my daughter that I'd pick her up from school and I'd walk to do it. So that was how I started to walk again.
So the herbs and the detox is what brought you back from where? How did the doctors feel about your recovery?
When I went back in February and I was out the wheelchair and I walked into the doctor's surgery, and I said, I didn't listen to what you said. I'm not going to stay on the steroids. I'm not going to stay on those other drugs. And he said, it's probably the best thing you could have done. Previously told me to stay on it for life. Okay. So I kind of understood then it's better I listen to me, innit? So
he was telling you something off the record?
It was very much on the record that it was the best thing I could have done. Okay. And on the record, previously before that, was stay on it for life.
Confusing.
Extremely. Yeah. So I chose to listen to me.
So I have just a quick question. How did your family feel when they realised you had 2 previous cancers and you didn't tell them?
Well, my aunt had done the same thing and died, sadly. And she told them at the last minute. So my mum was upset with me for that. And she's like, Auntie Sarah done the same. I goes, yeah, she's my aunt and my godmother, so there's an influence there. And I don't know, because of the fear of how they acted, I'm glad I didn't tell them for the other 2.
You know, a question that I have is, you seem to have such a strong mindset that, as well as the herbs and everything else, your mindset, I think, has carried you through those first 3 incidents you spoke about.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I think because I'm very goal driven, so where I said it wasn't on my goals to die, and it wasn't on my goals to die of cancer. So it just never happened.
Do you believe in the law of attraction?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
That's
good.
Yeah.
So, we have 3 cancers.
Yeah.
But it doesn't end there, does it?
Nope. Yeah.
What happened? What was the next diagnosis?
How old was I? It was 2013. I then had stomach cancer again. And it was a short blast, 6 weeks of chemo, and I chose to go a bit of utilise the NHS, a bit of going back to the herbs, just because stomach cancer is quite aggressive. It's really painful in your stomach. You can't really hold food down properly, and if you do, you're just sicking it up. It's not. And it was affecting my menstrual periods as well. So I realised the things that I'd done before. So I love comedy, so I found out that you can have chemo at night. Yeah, exactly. In my hospital, you can have chemo at night. My hospital was in Tottenham Court Road. So I would go to a comedy show, laugh hysterically, or go to a music concert, and then go and have chemo at night, and then come home in the morning.
So was there a method behind that?
Yeah.
Behind that, what was the method?
For me, it felt like, because the laughter was coming from my stomach, so it was giving it something I really like. Before I go to something I don't really like.
Okay.
And then whilst I was having the chemo, I'd still be laughing about some of the jokes that I just heard. And I'd made friendships with some of the comedians. They didn't know that I was going off to chemo after this, but my cousin did. One of my cousins, who was strong enough to not break down. She was strong enough for me, and my business partner at the time. So I would do it on a Friday night, like I was going up. I would get dressed up, because I'm going to the comedy show. My kids would go off to either my cousins or my partner, my ex-partner, and I would go have some fun, have some chemo, and rest for the weekend.
You know, there is a theory that laughter has some healing properties.
Laughter therapy is huge.
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, it's my 5th cancer, and it's tumours, breast tumours, and I've decided to go 100% natural. It's long, but so like chemo, you can do like 6 weeks, 9 months or so, and everything's kind of cleared up, but you have lots of side effects. I found out in February 2015 that I have tumours, and I then had natural detoxes. So
just to be clear, we're now on the 5th cancer, and that cancer is breast cancer.
Breast tumours, so I don't know if I have tumours in my breast.
Okay, so we describe it as breast cancer. And
I blame myself for a little bit of it, because I really used to be angry that my breast was so big, and I had to then change my mindset. I was like, people pay for these things, and you've got to appreciate them, Marcia, and love them. So I started the journey of loving them and caring better for them and treating them to the best bras possible and things like that.
And this was after the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Do you know, on a personal note, I was with my mother at the time when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and as a woman, that's got to be so scary. How did you feel at that point, considering you have gone through 4 other cancers?
Right.
How did you feel at that point?
I at the time was probably one of the worst years of my life. I had police assaults. I'm a community businesswoman, and I was treated like a person the police wanted to kill. So I was assaulted by the police at the same time. I had my 13-year-old who had gone off the rails. I had an end of my second major relationship where I had a second child. So it all happened at the same time. But again, I channeled into my ancestors, my great-grandmother, Granny Kitty, and I noticed there was a pattern. I can now look back and in hindsight say, I give myself 24 hours to cry. I allow myself to be sad. It doesn't happen instantly, maybe a day or two or so after the diagnosis, but when it happens, it's normally when I'm driving, and then it will start the path of the 24 hours. And I allow myself to do that, and the next day I choose a different feeling. And normally it's to conquer this and don't let nothing stop me. So I chose to do that no matter what crazy things that was happening in my outside world. I was still focused on ensuring that this cancer can never kill me. These tumours can never be the thing I die from. And I came back after my 24 hours, and I can remember making a playlist of music. And it was all, thankfully, like I had gone on a music exchange, and it was like music people had written. And they had written this whilst we were away in the Cayman Islands. So it was a very beautiful memory for my mind. So anytime like you would hear like somebody's passed away from cancer or something's quite depressing, I would put this on and re-kickstart the brain. I think, right, the positive path. And so there's things like music and comedy I use to help my mindset along with my goals.
So you mentioned a natural path. Could you just share with us what you meant by that?
Okay, so I went to a private doctor. He gave me a scan, and this scan also showed what kind of other kind of viruses your body has. And like my partner, who I'm with now, my husband, who I'm with now, showed me the amount of toxins that was in my body. And this is why it keeps on recurring. I was like, oh, it's my lupus, keeps on mimicking cancers, is that what it is? What could it be? And it was a case of detoxing all the different vaccines that's in your body. I worked in hospitals a lot doing IT, so you have to be vaccinated. The different vaccines, the childhood vaccines, how they morph and change into things in your body. So he's extremely excellent equipment that he uses. The company's called Gold Juice Detox. Highly recommend them, go for their scan. So it's about 70, 80 pounds, highly worth it. And he gave me these treatments and stuff to take, drinks and toxins and liver flushes and kidney flushes and cleanses and stuff like that. But my body gets sensitive. I still have lupus. I still have this hypermobility, or EDS as they call it now. And so my stomach's still sensitive too. So sometimes I can tolerate them, even with the most natural herbs, even a dandelion and a chamomile. Sometimes my body don't. So sometimes I will drink it and it will come up straight away or come out straight away. So I have to really listen to my body. And because I've chosen not to I'm not having no form of surgery. I said I love them, so they're staying. So they're staying.
Was you given the option to
Yeah. I was like, no, not happening. I left my brain alone and it's fine, and my brain's a godsend, thankfully, because of all the smart stuff. But no, I chose not to. Yeah, I'm determined. Yeah.
You're determined to keep
them.
Okay, well done.
Yeah.
Well done. And so even though the alternative medicines kind of make you, don't always agree with you because of your condition, but they've still helped you.
Yeah, most definitely. So
greatly.
My tumours have gone down. So I think they were for size purposes, say there was like a 3,400. It's gone down to 1,400.
Okay. So there, it's
it's definitely declined, but it's just taking long.
Yeah.
So the next 6 months, my goals are I go to a comedy show on a weekly basis. I see some kind of artist singing or performing or spoken word or something like that, because I found that has been a formula I didn't realise that was working. So I've gone back to doing things like that, and keeping myself on the path of my goals and making sure things that I like to do, I do.
So we've discussed the 5 cancers and your alternative remedies that helped you. How did your diet play a role in any of your recoveries?
I've never been a massive meat lover, so cutting out meat is very easy. It's chicken and fish was the 2 what's it called, animal-like products that I would eat. And my father's a pescatarian, so I kind of grew up with half and half. My mother, meat lover, cook it all day long. Father, pescatarian, only eats fish and lots of hard food and pulses and things like that. So I'd left home young and kind of lived more of a pescatarian lifestyle. So it wasn't a major shift. I know people do a lot more juicing. I actually love planting. If anybody knows me, they know I love planting. So I introduced a lot more planted dishes and banana dishes into my life.
So diet played a role?
Diet played a role, but I can't say it's a major role to be very
major role. Because
my eating habits were never really terrible. I don't like pork, I don't really like red meat. Where I would be a junk food vegetarian, I'd eat chips and maybe fry a few things.
So we spoke about 5 cancers, but that's not all.
No.
There's more, isn't there?
Yeah. So they had diagnosed me with, first of all, hypermobility, which is now renamed EDS, or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
And what is that?
Spontaneous dislocations. So there's 13 different variants. Some people have internal organ problems, but my variant is called the hypermobility, and it basically means, with the Ehlers-Danlos part to it, is I have spontaneous dislocations. So my shoulders pop out, my knee pop out, my ankle pop out, fingers pop out, anything can pop out, hip pop out. It has its benefits because it means I'm highly flexible. And I used to do a lot of yoga, and I can remember my yoga teacher asking me, "Are you an athlete?" And I was like, "Thank you very much, but no, I just have a joint condition." So, but it does have its benefits because I also have lupus, and both illnesses are on the opposite spectrum, which is weird for this is why I'm at a private hospital, because they just find me weird. So lupus makes you stiff, and your joints are slow, and you're fatigued. Why? The hyper part of the EDS makes you hyper, makes your joints flexible, makes you dislocate. So all the drugs they give you for that don't work for me. All the drugs they give you for that don't work for me. So I was like, oh cool, I don't need to take none of them. So it's a good balance, it seems to be.
Confusing your body, huh?
Yeah.
That's what you was going to say, as well as the EDS, is there more?
Yeah. This is why I have so many projects. So basically, what I done in my professional life was, each illness they gave me, I started another business. That was one of the formulas for it. I was like, oh, okay, cancer again, tick, start that business. EDS, tick, another one. So they gave me fibromyalgia, something called POTS. Yeah, something called POTS, which is you faint. I used to faint all the time as a child. Fainted as a teenager, learned to control it as an adult, understood what it meant when I finally got diagnosed. I was like, oh, okay. So you're basically, you got from sitting to standing, your heart rate goes from 3 to 300, and that's where you pass out. Yeah, fibromyalgia, POTS, Ehlers-Danlos, lupus. What else is there? I know there's something else on there. Yeah, they just gave me a long list. I can remember seeing a hospital letter with all of these diagnoses, thinking, nope, this won't be the reason I die. Nope.
In the beginning of the interview, Marcia, I called you an overcomer. Yeah. And I think anybody watching this interview would have to agree with me, because you've had to overcome so much, so many illnesses that would serious illnesses that for some people would really take them out, and you have such great energy despite, even though now you are still suffering, and that's absolutely commendable. And I think it's a testament to how someone's mind, the power of the mind, can bring people through situations like you've been through.
I think the power of the mind has been everything. I can look back with hindsight, and each and every time where I didn't want to listen to what the doctor was saying with their diagnosis of death, and always set myself a goal for breaking that myth of their guess, because you're guessing. You read a book and you're guessing about me.
So, and every time they said you were going to die, you refused to accept it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the last major one was the brain cancer. No, you can't have no kids after this. I had a child, she's 7. And I got pregnant within 4 months of having the chemotherapy as well. So I was like, ha, 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 my daughter's fine too. Yeah. And yeah, every time, 10% chance of survival. No, 100%.
Do you know, I'm listening to your story, and I truly mean it. It's amazing that you have such vibrant character, considering all you've been through in still such a short time, and you've been going through it for a long time. And I think, as I said, anyone watching this will be sitting in awe when they kind of think back about the amount of cancers you've had and the way you've dealt with it. You know, people go through illnesses and they deal with it in different ways. In conclusion, to this interview, to anybody watching this story, what final words would you leave with them about your story, about life, or just some words you may want to share with them?
I think setting goals for your life is really important, because you can go off somebody's opinion or someone's suggestion if you haven't set your own kind of goals. So for me, I know being very goal driven, and like I have like 30-40 years goals for myself now. I obviously have more because I'm reaching 107. So, and I choose to close my eyes at that particular time and go to sleep, and that's when I know I will die. There's nothing else. There's not a car accident, there's not an illness, there's not anything that will stop me reaching my goals, because that is my focus. And between now and then, I choose to have all the fun and happiness I can and create a nice impact in the world too.
That's a wonderful message to leave with people. Marcia, it's been the words are kind of failing me, but it's been very inspiring listening to you, and I feel your energy. You know, I will leave here inspired, and I'm gonna go back and check my goals and make sure that's where I focus my attention on, because that's what you've done. You've used your focus to carry you through your illness, and I think it's commendable. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story, and I wish you a long and healthy life until 107.
That's the one.
You look after yourself, okay?
Thank you very much, Ken.